Hello, and welcome to Chatting with Chantel. It's your girl Chantel, and we are back again with another season. Mirrored Moments of Reflections, where we talk about things that are for the betterment of ourselves. Thank you so much for taking time out to listen. Thank you for joining. For all of you that are listening, joining for the very first time, please make sure you like, share, or comment. It's been such an honor, a privilege, a pleasure to be back doing what I love, what God has given me. This project that has often caused me to look at myself. It's caused me to go back to the drawing board. It's caused me to see the bigger picture and everything that I'm doing, to understand that there's purpose in the earth, and to understand that a healthy mental is what we need to strive and be purposeful and intentional in life. And so all of that ties together with the makeup of ourselves, a healthy mental, a healthy life, physically, spiritually. All of that lines up, and it makes up you. It makes up who you want to be, who you desire to be, how you desire to live your life. And I choose to live my life to the fullest, keeping God at the forefront of all that I do, keeping Him at the head, reigning over my life, keeping me covered, keeping me guarded, keeping me shielded by following His word. And I know that if I do exactly what He has asked me to do, I know that I can't go wrong. I know that I won't fail. I know that He will always have my best interest at heart. Did I always think this way? Absolutely not. Because when I did see and hear what He had for me, there were moments where I did not think I was able, where I looked at myself and other people and said, do I honestly fit into that mold of what you're asking me to do? And it took a moment of God just building me up and letting me know that I would not have given it to you if I did not think that you were capable. And after, hearing Him say that over and over and over and over and over again, you got to start believing it, especially when doors begin to start opening and your life just begins to get better and it comes full circle. You're in a place where you're not worried, you're not stressed, and He just keeps speaking and revealing things to you. Those are reflecting moments that I think about every time that I go back and think about where I started from. Definitely with this podcast, because it started off, me just being on here talking and kind of constructing what would go on. And now it's basically the things that God gives me, how He talks to me, how He speaks to me, through me, throughout the course of the week, and how He's not letting me fail, regardless of the things that might come up against me, regardless of the things that go on around me. He knows that I'm not going to leave Him. I'm not going to stray. And so He keeps doing great things for me. And I can't help but be forever grateful. I can't help but keep serving, keep following, keep obeying, keep listening, keep writing, keep singing, keep worshiping, and doing what it is that He's called me to do. Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. It's been a long week, but I thank God that we can have this reflection moment together, and we can think about the things that has gone on during the course of the week. Do I have any sad stories? I don't, because I'm alive. I have my health. I'm in my right mind. I have my family. I have those that are close, and I consider my sisters, my friends. I have all of them close and nearby, I don't have any sad stories. And for that, I have to give God honor. I have to give him praise. Was it a trying week? Of course, but he yet still remained. And because he still remained, I still remain. So pat yourself on the back. Can you give yourself a moment? Can you just look at yourself in the mirror or, just think to yourself, you know what? I did do that. I did finish out the course of this week. I did a good job. And even in those moments where I may have failed or I may was weak or I may not have responded the way that I need to, the fact that you were able to be aware of the shortcomings or be aware of every mistake and have the ability to correct them, pat yourself on the back, because one thing many people need to know is that we're not perfect. We're not going to get it right every single day. We're not going to always, how would you say it? We're not always going to I'm not going to say we're not always going to win, because I will forever be a winner. As long as God is on my side, I'm winning. But it may not always come out the way that we want it to, but it will come out the way that God has ordained it. Let's put it like that. And for that, we have to give God honor. We have to give him praise for the mere fact that he knows what he's doing. He has orchestrated our life, and he has just preordained everything. And so the fact that we're able to live out this thing and be a testimony and be a praise report and be who God has called us to be, it is a moment to be grateful, to be thankful, to be just in awe of what God is doing. And I am totally amazed. I'm amazed by him. I'm amazed by how even in those moments when I think that I'm going to respond the wrong way, there is a peace, there is a silence that he gives me that lets me know that, you know what, you don't have to do or you don't have to conform to that which that is going on around you. I've set you apart for a reason, so embrace the set apart. And throughout the course of this week, as I look back, if I go ahead and do my reflecting over this week, my mirrored moment would be the fact that there were a lot of growing pains this week. And that is, the title of this podcast, Growing Pains. Everybody knows that when you're growing up and you're going from one size to another, oftentimes our body will experience growing pains, and it lets you know that you're either getting taller. It can even let you know that you're gaining a little weight. It can let you know that, your muscles are experiencing some type of discomfort, your muscles, your bones, your body in general. It will let you know that there is something going on. Growth all the time does not, we look for growth. We do, because there are some of us who desire to be super, super, super tall. And then there are others of us that have embraced the fact that we're just going to be either average or short for the rest of our lives. But growing pains, come in different aspects. They come physically, they come mentally, they come spiritually. And throughout the course of this week, I think God allowed me to experience growing pains. Growing pains means that I'm going to go back and I'm going to tap some areas in your life to see if you've grown in that area, to see if you've really overcome and you've really become and you've really taken on the attributes that I have given you. Growing pains this week were, I'm going to see if the language that I have given you actually use in those moments. Growing pains for me would be, are you going to take all the principles and all the tools that I've given you to make sure that when this situation comes up, or when the enemy tries to rear his head, or when you're not feeling 100%, you begin to use those to make sure that you see the growth, and you can identify the growth, and you just surpass that growing pain. Like, you don't succumb to it. You don't allow it to take over you. You don't allow it to define you. But what you do is you show that growing pain that, guess what? That which used to bother me doesn't bother me anymore. And so the growing pains that I faced on this week, I was just like, you know what? God, you are truly amazing. You are, true to your word. You are still doing great things for people that, we know that we're not even worthy. We know that we have messed up and that we have failed and that we have not always made you smile, but for the mere fact that you take us back and you reminded us, look at where you started and look where you are now. That's big for me. When I look back over my life and I begin to think about, you know what, I used to respond this way, but I don't anymore. That's a growing pain. That's a growing step. That shows growth. That means that I learned from what didn't work then, and I made sure that I took that lesson to grow. Everything in life that we do, we take it to grow. Anytime you move up in an area, but you keep going back to the old things that kind of put you right in with everybody else, means that you don't understand the importance of growth. And some people have a problem with growth because growth oftentimes will set you off in a place by yourself. But you have to be okay with that growth to know that, guess what? I may be all by myself. I may be, a supervisor, or I may be a leader, or I may be a minister or a pastor, and everything or everyone may not always want to be around me, but that's growth, because in that moment, God just showing me that, guess what? Everybody's not for me, and that you're specially placing me so that I don't get hurt, so that I don't hear the wrong thing, so that I don't do the wrong thing. That's growth, when you're able to look at whatever is going on and see the greater good out of it. It works out for your good. And oftentimes when I look at the growing pains that I experienced on this week, it was a moment where I had to just be quiet. And in those moments, God began to speak to me and be like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for you to regress all the way back to all the things that I've brought you from, or that I've brought you out of. Understand that growth means that you are moving forward, that you're growing up, that you're maturing, that you're taking on a different mentality. Don't you know that there are some people that will never mature in life? It does not matter how their age, how big it gets. There are some that will just be immature for their entire life. It's something about them liking to be immature. It's something about them liking to blend in with everybody instead of stand out. It's something about them being irresponsible. It's something about them not wanting to grow up and be leaders. They'd rather be followers instead of leaders. They'd rather stand with the crowd than stand alone. That alone, the mere fact that you see the difference, but those are growing moments where you see your growth, you take it on, and you understand that, okay, God, you see more in me than I see in myself. And you don't speak against it, but you embrace it and you walk in it, and you understand that, guess what? Growing pains only hurt for a moment, but once you overcome those growing pains, then you're in a different level. You're in a different group. You're in a different place in your life. You're in a different mindset that says, guess what? Everything that comes out of my mouth will not be negative. Everything that comes out of my mouth will not speak down on other people. I'm not going to think that I'm better than anybody else. I'm going to be a genuine person. That's growth. But when you keep going back to those things that caused God to frown, that caused him to look at you and say, hey, there's still work to be done. When you fail to be honest with yourself and think, guess what? You know what? There's some things about me I know that I can change, because God is steadily showing them to you. Life is steadily showing them to you. Anything that causes you to step out of character and do things that you don't normally do, and it have a negative connotation or it has a negative response, those are places or areas that you need to grow in. Even looking at it spiritually, God constantly will allow things to happen in our lives to see if we are believing his word, understanding his word, and being able to apply the principles that he has given us. He will constantly tell us that we are overcomers by the word of our testimony, but yet some of us will just still remain silent. And he's not saying that, hey, you have to broadcast it to the world. But guess what? I am going to open up my mouth and let it be known that God is good, that he's amazing, that he keeps covering, that he keeps building and covering those that are connected to me. That's goodness. That's a testimony. Even when you wake up in the morning and you begin to love on God, it does not mean that, you know what, I have to have an audience, because I don't. It's the most precious times for me are the moments that I spend alone with him, where I, talk to him, I worship him, I praise him, and then he begins to speak back, and he lets me know that, hey, it's okay, you had a rough day, but guess what? For the mere fact that you didn't do what your mind said to do, because you know what, the funny thing about it is that God knows our thoughts, and he will see the enemy just feeding us stuff. Oh, you should say this, you should do this, you should do this, which goes against everything that he has given you. And the mere fact that you don't do it, because his voice then becomes so much louder, or you understand that, you know what, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what's right. I know the difference between, being a leader and a follower. And so that I don't have to go back and fix things that I did because I chose to do the opposite of what I was asked to do. I overcome that growing pain, and it does not feel good. It does not always make you the popular person, but what it does is it allows you to move to a place where you can say, you know what, God, thank you. Thank you that I did not understand it then, but I see it now. Growing pains means that, guess what? I'm growing up. I'm getting bigger. I'm loving more. I'm forgiving more. I'm thinking more of myself. I'm learning to take care of me. I'm understanding what it is to unplug, unwind, relax. I'm understanding what it is to spend time with you. I'm understanding what it is to spend time with family. I'm taking everything and I'm prioritizing, and I'm making sure that I'm doing everything that you've called me to do. When you get that mindset, that's growth, because there are times where, you know what? Before we got to that place, we were doing whatever, whenever, however. There was no order. There was nothing purposeful about it. There was no intention. But after you go through those growing pains of, guess what, constantly having to fix, just being all over the place, you learn, you take on a mindset that, guess what, everything in my life is done for a reason. Even the unplug, the unwind, the relax, the vacation, it's done for a reason. And it may not include everybody that you wanted to include, but one thing you have to understand is that your walk is your walk. And nobody's walk will look like your walk. God is creative. God is strategic. God makes sure that even if we try to emulate some of the things that other people are doing around us, he will allow it to stick out so bad that you'll be like, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore, because that's really not me. And he will place you in a place that says, now this is you. This is your sound. This is your understanding. This is how you will minister. This is how you will tell of my goodness. This is how you will testify. This is how you will be an example. This is how you will be a light. Growing pains Everybody's growing pains are different. We experience them at different times. We relate to them at different times. But guess what? Everybody goes through them. And that's the wonderful thing about growing pains. That's the wonderful thing about being able to grow up, is you're able to look back and understand it was all for a reason. You can have that woosah moment where you just take a deep breath and you relax, relate, and release. Because guess what? It's over. It's done. You made it through. You conquered it. You were victorious in that area. You did what you were supposed to do. You responded the right way. And it came out just the way God intended it. Even if the others around you don't understand, God understands. You understand. And it got the result that you were needing it to get. Growing pains. Growing pain causes you to be better, do better, and know better. Can't you take a moment and just say, you know what? I understand growing pains. I am looking at everything that I'm going through, and you acknowledge those growing pains and you begin to work on those things that are causing you those growing pains. So guess what? You don't have to keep revisiting them, because they will soon go away, because you're in a new level. You're at a new height. You're in a different place. So you can't keep experiencing the things of old, because you'll be taking on new. New is always good. It's strange. It causes us to step out of the box. It causes us to have an open mind. It causes us to open up our eyes. It causes us to listen and be able to take in all that we need to. That is so amazing. That's my reflective mirror moment for the week, that growing pains oftentimes don't feel good, but they're for the good. And after this week, I definitely understand, and I definitely know that I'm growing. I'm not all grown up, but I know that I'm growing. And I know that everything that I'm doing is intentional, is purposeful, and that it is what God has called me to do, regardless of those that, care to acknowledge, or regardless of those that think it's insignificant or whatever. Guess what? God didn't give it to you. He gave it to me. That's my reflective mirrored moment. And if you can't get in on the growth, hey, I'll see you when I see you. That's the mindset that you have to have, because anytime you start to internalize the reactions and the thoughts of others, you lose that time that you could be spending with God and allowing Him to downpour in your life. Again,